All right, guys, real quick, we have to finish up our Thursday video lecture. Part two here is going to be talking about the healthcare and then creating lifelong learners. So we don't have too much longer. We probably have about 5 more minutes. But healthcare was an area that Johnson really wanted to focus on because he believed everyone deserved healthcare. All right. Liberals in Congress had tried for years to provide hospital insurance to retired workers as part of Social Security. And this is something that he actually wants to give people, all right? In 1965, Congress established the Medicare and Medicaid programs. These are 2 programs that are still around today, all right? But they're different, and a lot of people don't understand the differences in the 2, so we're going to talk about that. Medicare is a federal health insurance program that pays for hospital and nursing home services for citizens 65 years or older. So to apply for Medicare, all you have to be is 65 years or older, and then you become eligible for this. You know, why do we give this? Because, well, when people retire, usually they no longer have health care, right? Well, the government's going to give you your health care through Medicare. So a lot of times you hear about during debates, Medicare, Medicaid, cutting funding, adding funding. If you cut funding to Medicare or Medicaid, that means people who no longer have their own insurance and rely on government insurance for health care needs, they're going to lose the amount of coverage they have, which means they're going to have to pay more out of pocket, all right? Medicaid is a health insurance program jointly financed by the federal and state governments, and it covers low-income people as well as older Americans whose medical needs have exceeded their Medicare benefits. So Medicaid kicks in if your Medicare you've reached your limit on Medicare and you're an older American, then you can start pulling from Medicaid. Or if you're someone that's impoverished or in poverty, you can sign up for Medicaid at any age, all right, because it deals with your financial situation. So 2 health insurance programs, one based on age and for elderly and the retired, one based on people that are based on need, and it doesn't matter age, but are established, they're funded by our government to make sure everyone has health insurance. Now, we've talked about universal health care or Obamacare, right, that people can sign up for, which is a government-funded health insurance program. That's different than Medicare and Medicaid, all right? Medicare and Medicaid will always be there. Universal health care, they've tried to vote out. It is still around today, but this means that everyone, no matter socioeconomics, can get government-funded health care, all right? Americans no longer had to forego medical care for lack of health insurance, which means anybody now can get health insurance. They can get Medicare and Medicaid, or they can have privatized health insurance. Obviously today, anybody can have health care because they can sign up for government-funded universal health care, or have privatized or be on Medicare or on Medicaid. All right? So there's no need not to go to the doctor's office because somehow it's going to be covered, either by Medicare, Medicaid, privatized, or government health insurance programs. Now, the problem is when people abuse this, and that's where funding becomes a problem. If people are using too much Medicare or Medicaid or Medicare, then it becomes a drain on the economic system, and it becomes hard for the government to continually finance this. So it's really hard to police. There's a lot of things that have to go into this to making sure that everyone is using it properly, and you have to go to licensed doctors. Some healthcare places don't accept Medicare or Medicaid because of the funding, because it takes a long time for them to get the payments. All right, our last slide for today and for this week that I want to talk about, supporting lifelong learning and culture. So education, Johnson believed, was the key to a better life. And he's not wrong, right? The better education you have, the better life you're probably going to have, because with more education, the more money, more opportunities you're going to have. He pushed several measures to improve the nation's educational system. One was the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. This provided federal aid to school districts nationwide. This is so important because, like we have levies for tax increases, right? So people go out and vote, and that's what helps us improve our schools. Lets us add additions, helps us build new classrooms or new schools. But the state and federal government also provide us with funding, and that funding is really important because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, coming from the federal and state governments. And that's all because of LBJ. And he knew that federal governments need to take an active role in helping the educational system to help people out. Because you got to think, not areas are as financially well off as other areas. So like you may go to some areas and they're always going to pass a school levy, right? They have a lot of money. They can deal with increased taxes. Like luckily for us in Delaware County and Delaware City specifically, we pass our levies a lot because the people really love the school district. People want to see the school district continue to succeed. We have a lot of young families. Olentangy School District pretty much always passes their levies because people want to see. They understand having a good school district improves everything else within your community. But you go to other areas. You go down to Southern Ohio, Appalachia areas. They're not going to pass levies. People can't afford to pay for new schooling. So that's where the state and federal come in because they will help pay for new schools and new amenities because those children don't deserve to suffer. They don't deserve to get a lesser of an education just because of the situation that they live in. Because if their education is better, they can maybe leave that situation, go somewhere else, and better themselves. All right? The government allocated funds to needy students rather than schools. This act helped finance both public and parochial schools. Johnson signed an act creating the National Endowment for the Arts, or NEA, and the National Endowment for the Humanities, the NEH, which gives grants to artists, musicians, writers, scholars, and researchers. So it's not like he's just looking at the core subjects, math, science, social studies, English. He's looking at everything, music, arts, research for science. So he wants to make sure that it is a well-rounded educational experience that people are achieving and people have the opportunity to get. Johnson also spearheaded the passage of the Public Broadcasting Act. You guys may know this as PBS. So everyone has a educational channel, right? Channel 34, I believe it is, PBS, has educational programming, has educational news on there, has like all these different stories and documentaries that are all funded through research and through grants. It also has probably some of your favorite shows on there like Sesame Street when you're a kid. Has a lot of children's educational program. In fact, right now PBS now has like a lot of different stations. Like if you have regular TV, there's like PBS Kids and PBS Normal, PBS Learning. Like there's all these PBS channels because it's all funded, all right, by the government. And through private donations. And right now, because kids are not in school, there are specific channels for specific grades on PBS, so education can continue. So maybe people don't have access to internet resources or textbooks. Well, guess what? They probably have a TV. And even if you don't have cable or you don't have satellite or you don't stream, you can get PBS because it's on the antenna. It's a regular broadcasted channel. So you can tune into PBS and you can continue your educational experience by learning through their platforms. And this is great because literally they're not leaving any child behind. No matter what your circumstances, you can continue to get an education, whether that's reading or writing, but you're visually seeing something on your television and you're being told what it's about. The first show on this Public Broadcasting Act that was created was Sesame Street. It first aired on public television stations in 1969. Think about this. Sesame Street, 1969, first aired. It's 2020, and Sesame Street's still around today with some of these iconic characters. You have Big Bird, you have Elmo, you have the Cookie Monster, you have Oscar the Grouch, you have Snuffleupagus. You have all these people that you're just like, you grow up in your childhood, and I'm sure all these people have seen Sesame Street or know these characters. And they've made tons of money off of it. And you look at Sesame Street, and what is it meant to do? It's helping kids learn how to count, words, handle situations in society, learn right from wrong. So it's giving values. So there's a lot of educational assets that come out of this, and it's helped generations of kids, and kids can relate to this. Barney was a show that was on PBS. That big purple dinosaur that people used to watch and stuff like that. So there's all these different educational resources that people can access that are completely free to them. Okay? Reminder, guys, that's it for our notes for this week. We have 2 more days of video lecture next week. We'll have some more quick writes, and then we'll have our writing assessment next week. Hopefully, we're going to get some good news. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back to school at some point with each other. If not, we're going to continue to go through this. Our next unit's Vietnam, so that's always one that's really exciting. I'll have a lot of film clips to share with you guys when it comes to Vietnam. But make sure you guys are studying for your vocab quiz part 2 tomorrow on Friday, and you also do your quick write. Okay? For some of you guys, this is like the first time you probably actually physically done the quick write. Usually you just do it in your mind and then answer it for me. So it's really great getting to read your responses, seeing you interact with your classmates. Continue to do that. You guys are doing a really good job with that. All right? That's it for the video lectures this week, guys. I'll have a message for Friday just to say hi. But other than that, enjoy your week. Continue work. Continue to get outside. And I hope you enjoyed these past video lectures. All right. Have a great day. I'll see you guys. It's Thursday. We're almost done for the week. Finish strong. All right. Go Pacers.